Hello, and welcome to Budget Commander. On this channel, we'll discuss Magic the Gathering topics with a focus on playing Commander on a budget. We'll cover things like deck building, top cards, deck techs, and more. Let's get started. Hello friends, today we're going to be taking a look at the 2019 pre-constructed Commander decks. We're going to be reviewing them on two axes. The first one going to be financial value, mostly of reprints, because that's what we actually know the card's value of, and then secondly on the deck's playability. Hard to tell as you haven't gotten them out of the box yet, but you can kind of read a deck list and know how it's going to work. These decks, relative to previous years, I really like because they're designed around a mechanic, as opposed to in previous years it's kind of seemed like each deck comes with three commanders that could be the general for the deck, and then they're broken up into three categories, and each category each commander has its own category, and each deck is broken into thirds. They don't usually seem to play that well. These decks look like they all pretty coherent idea, so I like that, which also makes these decks great for new players and for anybody that doesn't enjoy deck building. Alright, the categories for playability that we're going to be looking at, I'll be giving a review at the end, and they'll get a 1 to 5 star rating based on how many of each card type the deck was running and how that relates to my 2018 Commander League and all the data I took from that. And you can look at the deck building series if you want to know more about it, but it's data driven, and that's how a deck gets a 1 to 5 star rating in any one category. First deck we're going to look at is Gyred Conclave Exile, Naya deck. This is a kind of an aggro deck. You're going to put him down on the battlefield. He creates a 4/4, and then at any time he attacks, you get a populate. Populate is the main mechanic this deck is geared around, and when you populate, you create a copy of any token that you control. So in the first instance, usually it's going to be a 4/4 green Rhino, but could be something else if you got something better on the battlefield to make copies of. He's great, seems fun. Financial value, notable reprints, we've got Soul Ring, Ash Barrens, Momentous Fall, all coming in at $3. I will let you know Soul Ring and Ash Barrens are in all the decks. Ash Barrens is actually a great card that was really undervalued when it first came out, I think in 2017, and has since crawled up. Great card to reprint. Then we also got $4 for Garruk Primal Hunter, $7 for Lightning Greaves. The deck, a week after the deck lists have been printed, that's today, was valued at $42. If you wanted to buy the deck and all the reprints from the deck, it would be $42. And then I'm estimating the value for the new cards to be $9 in each of the decks. There's 83 cards that are reprints in each deck, and then 17 cards that are new to each of the decks. So about 50 cents per card for a $9 value in those new cards. Don't really know what it's going to be, so I'm just putting that number for all of them, but at least $42 in reprints. Okay, moving on. I'm going to let you know my favorite 3 cards from each of these categories. First category is Acceleration. 3 favorite cards that this deck is running: Farseek, Secure Tribe Elder, and Cultivate. The first one is going to get you a Plains or Mountain to the battlefield. Secure Tribe Elder, sack him, get anything to the battlefield tapped, and then Cultivate gets you something to the battlefield tapped, something to your hand. Solid cards. Next, we have cards that provide consistency. Most of the cards that provide consistency in this deck populate, which is great, but I would rather have cards that draw. So Colossal Majesty and Elemental Bond do a good job of that. Either beginning of the turn, if you control something with power 4 or greater, draw a card. Otherwise, anytime someone with power 3 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. Those are also great card draw cards. Also enchantments, all 3 of them enchantments, so kind of hard to remove. Control, cards that provide control. We got Beast Within, get rid of anything. Solid card, shows up in a lot of decks. Hour of Reckoning, super good board wipe in this deck. Wipe the board of your opponent's non-token creatures, your own too, but hopefully that leaves your board full. And then you got Phyrexian Rebirth, blow up the board of all the creatures, and you get an XX horror token, where X is the number of destroyed creatures. So at least hopefully you're able to populate a big Phyrexian horror artifact creature and make a bunch of those. Cards that are utility cards, Rogue's Passage. This is going to allow you to get Gyred to attack because it makes him unblockable, so you get that populate trigger. Otherwise, you got Dragon Master Outcasts, creating you 5/5 red dragon creature tokens with flying every turn as long as you control 6 lands, or Giant Adaphage, which hopefully you're able to get combat damage in on a player with it, 7/7 with trample, so probably not too hard. And then it gets to make a token copy of it, which hopefully you're populating and making more and more of these 7/7 tramplers, and then you just overwhelm people. If those cards look like fun to play for you, then maybe the Gyred Conclave deck is your deal. Next up, we got Angie Falconwrath. She loves the Madness mechanic. She's a Rakdos, so black-red commander. She comes in. She's got haste. She allows you to tap and discard a card from your hand to draw a card, which seems like not that great. You're not really getting card advantage off of it. Except for Madness allows you to, if you discard a card from your hand, you can choose to discard a card with Madness and usually pay a reduced mana cost and still get the abilities off of that card. So ideally, you're discarding a card with Madness, draw a new card, you get the Madness ability, whatever that is, and whenever you discard a card with Madness, you can untap Angie, so potentially use her again. Notable reprints, those two again. Chaos Warp for 250, get rid of a permanent. Solemn Simulacrum, solid card in a lot of decks. Draws you cards, gets you lands you need. And then Geth, Lord of the Vault. Gets you artifacts or creatures from your opponent's graveyard, puts them onto the battlefield under your control, and then gives you more options for if you use him again in the future. Additionally, it comes with Intimidate, which is gives him a little bit of evasion and can't really be blocked unless your opponent's got black creatures or artifacts. So pretty cool there. Reprint value $45, estimated value $54. Favorite acceleration cards: Myriad Landscape, Rakdos Locket, Hedron Archive. The artifacts tap for mana, and then later in the game, if you don't need them, you can sack them and draw some cards off them. Myriad Landscape can tap for mana as a land, but you can also sack it to get a couple lands to the battlefield tapped as well. So those are some solid acceleration cards. Cards that provide consistency. I love Magus of the Wheel in this deck. Wheel effects are great. You don't have a great hand, or your hand is low but your opponent's hand is full. Everybody pitch their hand to the graveyard, draw a new 7. Maybe you get some Madness triggers off of it. Key to the City is great in this deck. Discard a card, so discard something from your hand with Madness. Target creature can't be blocked this turn, so one of your things is unblockable. And then on your next turn, when you untap Key to the City, pay an extra 2, draw a new card. So it's giving you gas, it's allowing you to attack your opponents, and you're getting Madness triggers. Woo! Like that. Then the last one was Beacon of Unrest. I mostly like this because you can get stuff from your opponent's graveyards, so their best stuff that's getting removed by your other opponents, and you can also get artifacts in addition to creatures, which is not that common. And then Beacon of Unrest shuffles back into your graveyard, so you're going to be able to use it maybe a couple times in a game, depending on how fast you're getting through your deck. Cards that provide control. Rick's Mighty Dungeon Palace. This allows you to make everyone discard cards, so hopefully you're getting a Madness trigger off of it, and all your opponents are just losing a card. Then you can wipe the board with Garruk's Wake of all your opponent's creatures and planeswalkers. So totally one-sided. Hopefully you're able to swing in and wipe at least one player out, or maybe a couple at that point in the game. And then lastly, a card that provides controls, Overseer of the Damned. It's a 5/5 flyer, comes in and you get to destroy whatever's the most threatening thing out there. And then whenever a non-token creature an opponent controls dies, you get to create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. So probably he's going to enter, and he's going to give you a 2/2 zombie, and you get to get rid of something. So a lot of value out of that one card there. Utility cards. Boneyard Parley. It's a fun card. It's a lot like Fact or Fiction, but you get 5 creatures from a graveyard, or from all the graveyards. Somebody puts it into 2 piles, one of your opponents, and then you pick one of those 2 piles to get. So you're probably getting 2 or 3 creatures back, and your opponents probably don't want to give them to you. Warstorm Surge, another great card. Play a creature, it deals damage equal to its power to anybody. This deck returns tons of cards from your graveyard, so you're going to be able to get lots of triggers off of this in the ideal situation. But lots of fun when that card is on the table. And then Ob Nixilis Reignited. He's going to draw you cards. You pay 1 life to draw that card, but then also anytime you need to, you can just shoot a creature down. He's on the table a lot in my circle, but I don't hardly ever see his ultimate get used. But those first 2 abilities provide a lot of value. So anyhow, if those black-red cards look like fun for you, perhaps Angie's your deck. Next up, we got Savine the Chronoclasm. He's a Jeskai commander, so blue, red, and white. And he is a flashback commander. Flashback is a mechanic that allows you to play cards from your graveyard, usually instants and sorceries from your graveyard, a second time, and then they get exiled. He gives you an extra copy of those spells. So you're going to play a card the first time, you get one copy of it. And then if he's on the battlefield and you flash it back, you get to play it a second time for a flashback, and then you get a third copy of it from Savine. So tons of copies of these flashback cards. He comes with the added bonus of preventing all combat damage to him, so great blocker, and he's going to survive all of those a lot of those red board wipes where you deal X damage to all the creatures. Notable cards, those 2 again. Ral Zarek for 250, so not a lot, but he's a good utility card. Ping a thing for 3, tap or untap things, so that's good. Then you got Ghostly Prison, Pillow Fort card, and Sun Titan, just a solid value card. Cost 6, and then you get to return stuff from your graveyard. Reprint value $42, estimated value $51. My favorite acceleration cards: Commander Sphere, tap it to add mana, sack it to draw cards. Burnished Heart, 2/2 creature that you can sack to get 2 lands of battlefield tapped. And then Jace's Sanctum. This is a cost reducer, makes all your instants and sorceries cost 1 generic less, and every time you get a scry 1, so that also gives you a little bit more consistency in addition to the acceleration. Cards that provide consistency here are River Kelpie and Secrets of the Dead, which help you to draw cards every time you're flashing back something from your graveyard. If an opponent does the same flashback, that's great too, all the more power to you. And then Runic Repetition, which allows you to get a card that's been exiled with flashback back to your hand. So you could potentially get 6 copies of this card that you flash back if Savine was on the battlefield the first time you play it and the second time. Cards that provide control. You got Magma Quake, deal X damage to all the things on the ground. And then Divine Reckoning. Pick a creature. Everybody picks their favorite creature and keeps it. Destroy the rest. It's got flashback, so that's cool. And then there's Devil's Play, so deal X damage to any target. You can shoot somebody in the face for lethal. You can also flash it back, or you can just get rid of planeswalkers, creatures that are causing you problems. Utility cards. Talrand Sky Summoner is a viable commander in and of himself. He creates 2/2s every time he plays an instant or sorcery, so you can just flood the board with a bunch of drakes and then fly over the top and wipe people out. Clever Impersonator is going to give you a copy of whatever is the most valuable to you. Copies anything on the battlefield, and it's that. Super good card. And then Gutter Snipe, I just like because it's a lot of fun. Played a game one time where one of my opponents played 7 instants and sorceries, dealt 14 damage to 3 of his opponents, so 42 damage all around. I got killed off by it, and so did one other guy. And then the Gutter Snipe player got hit on the crack back, which is fine, but yeah, that card's a lot of fun, so I included that there. So if those cards looked fun for you, maybe the Savine deck is your style. Otherwise, the last option for this commander year is Kadena Slinking Sorcerer. This one gives you ramp and card draw on a single card. Kadena likes the Morph and Manifest cards, which give you face down cards, which is kind of fun for some trickery in that you can flip them up and surprise your opponents. They don't really know what your creatures can do. But it gives you ramp because the first face down creature spell you cast each turn costs 3 less. Most morphs are 3, or morphs are 3. So boom, put a morph down for free. And then whenever one of your face down creatures enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. So play a thing for free, draw a new card. That seems really good. Costs 4 and it's a 3/3 body, so solid plays there. Notable reprints: you got Thran Dynamo, tap it for 3 mana, solid ramp. Tempt with Discovery, $4 card, gets you a land and hopefully more than one if your opponents bite, but nobody bites on this, or they all go get a land that allows them to blow up one of your lands that you got. So Tempt with Discovery is in there. I don't even know why it's $4. And then there's Seedborn Muse, really good card. This is the most valuable dollar-wise reprint that's in the 2019 precons, and that's for a good reason. It allows you to untap all your permanents on everybody's untap step. Reprint value $55, estimated value $64. This is the highest dollar-wise of all the decks, but I would not base my purchasing off of the dollar value. Cards that provide acceleration: we got Secure Tribeller and Cultivate, which gets you lands to the battlefield early. Trail of Mystery is not a actual accelerant, but it does provide you so much consistency in your land drops that I put it in here because every time a face down creature enters the battlefield under your control, you are going to search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. So just continually pulling lands out of your deck, thinning your deck, and giving you those consistent turn on after turn land drops. Cards that provide consistency: you got Secret Plans, whenever a permanent you control is turned face up, so your morph, flip it, draw a card. Or Grim Harrowspecs, whenever a non-token creature you control dies, draw a card. Finally, you got Bounty of the Luxa. There was not a lot of cards that I really actually loved that provided consistency, but Bounty of the Luxa is going to draw you a card every other turn, and it's on an enchantment, so that's good. But Kadena does such a good job of providing you that consistency that maybe you don't need as much in this deck. Cards that provide control. I like the control in this deck. Bane of the Living, you can morph it for X and give everything -X until end of turn. Chrome Shell Crab, you morph it and then you get a swap control of 2 creatures. So at worst, you're giving an opponent a 3/3, and then you're getting their best creature. And then Ixodron, which is just a total win in this deck. Play it, and then flip all the creatures over, face down. So everything's a 2/2. You can ideally get a bunch of extra Megamorph or regular Morph triggers off of Ixodron. He's huge in relation to all the cards that are 2/2s, and your opponents have lost all their creatures. They've been turned into 2/2s. And they're not in the graveyard, so they can't get them back as easily. Utility cards, you got Overwhelming Stampede and Biomass Mutation, which just make your team huge. So hopefully you can get in for lethal on 1 or more players the turn you play these. And then Seedborn Muse, which just untaps your stuff and gives you so much options on your opponent's turn. Here's overall the stars we gave to all the decks. If you enjoyed the cards that I previewed in each, whichever you enjoyed most is what I would recommend you play. I did include the estimated value as far as dollar bills go, and then I gave a star rating for each of the 4 different categories of acceleration, consistency, control, and speed. Speed was just based off of the converted mana cost, and then the other categories were based off of how many cards in that deck provided that function. So pick the one you think look the most fun, or the collection of cards that look the most fun to you. If you're only able to buy one of these decks this year, or maybe you're getting 2, not the whole deal. If you're new to Commander, all of these are going to function well, and you'll figure it out as time goes by, and you get some games in. Best way to learn is just playing with other people, and they can teach you as you go. And then my question to you guys is, which deck do you want the most and why? So which deck are you excited to get? I I'm excited to play the Gyred Conclave Exile deck, just populating and making tons of big creatures. Looks a lot of fun. Otherwise, Kadena also looks fun, mostly for those 2 huge pumps, Overwhelming Stampede, as well as the Biomass. Just making your team huge and swinging in seems like a lot of fun. They all actually look really fun, so pick your poison. Which one do you guys want? And I hope this video was helpful to you. Catch you next time. Thanks for watching. You can help support this channel by hitting that subscribe button. This will help keep you up to date on content from Budget Commander. If you liked the video, make sure you like the video. Leave me a comment with your thoughts on this topic. And if you think someone else could benefit from this video, feel free to share. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk with you next time.